Why people keep disappearing in the Appalachian Mountains. There's a place in America where people have vanished under circumstances that seem to defy all logic. This place, the ancient, sprawling Appalachian Mountains. People go for a walk, and they just never come back. This isn't simply about getting lost on a trail. We're talking about a phenomenon so strange, so persistent, that it's been given a name: Missing 411. These aren't your typical missing persons cases. These are stories that challenge our understanding of the world, stories that unfold in the sprawling wilderness of the Appalachian Range. For decades, investigators and search teams have been left staring at a void where a person used to be. The patterns are chilling. The locations are specific. And the outcomes are often, for lack of a better word, impossible. From young children who disappear in the blink of an eye to experienced hikers who step off a trail and into thin air, it's as if the mountains themselves swallowed them whole. So, we're going to look at the chilling patterns of these so-called missing 411 cases that have made these ancient mountains a hotspot for the unexplained. We'll examine the evidence, or the stunning lack of it, in some of the most baffling cases on record. From the heart-wrenching disappearance of Dennis Martin to the strange case of Trini Gibson, we'll explore every theory, from the rational to the supernatural, to try and answer one haunting question: why do people keep disappearing in the Appalachian Mountains? Section 1. The Appalachian Enigma. More than just getting lost. Before we get into the truly bizarre stuff, you have to understand the landscape itself. The Appalachian Mountains aren't just a backdrop. They're a character in every single one of these stories. Stretching over 2,000 miles from Alabama to Canada, this is one of the oldest mountain ranges on the planet. Its peaks have been worn down by 500 million years of wind and rain, and they're often shrouded in the haze that gives the Great Smoky Mountains their name. It's a place of almost spiritual beauty, but that beauty is a mask. The famous Appalachian Trail winds for about 2,200 miles through this wilderness. Each year, thousands of people attempt a through hike, an epic quest to walk its entire length. Only about 1 in 4 actually finishes. The reasons why are baked into the trail itself: unforgiving terrain, sudden, violent weather, and a deep, isolating remoteness. Picture a forest so dense that daylight barely touches the ground. Ridges so steep they push you to your absolute limit. Huge areas where a cell signal is a distant memory, and help might be days away. That's the reality here. It's a place where one wrong turn can have fatal consequences. People get lost, they succumb to the weather, they get injured. This is the logical, rational reason for many disappearances. The mountains are dangerous, and people make mistakes. But that's not the whole story. It's not the part that keeps search and rescue teams up at night. Because hidden in the stats of standard search operations is a cluster of cases that just don't fit. Cases where all the logical explanations fall apart, crushed under the weight of strange and unsettling details. These are the cases that have become known as Missing 411. Section 2. Introducing Missing 411, the unsettling patterns. The term Missing 411 was created by David Paulides, a retired cop turned author who noticed strange similarities in missing persons cases in North America's national parks. He found that the Appalachian region, especially places like the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, was a major cluster for these bizarre events. It's important to say up front that Missing 411 is not an official law enforcement category. It's a theory, and a controversial one at that. Many experts argue that what Paulides identifies as patterns are just coincidences, cherry-picked from thousands of unrelated tragedies that can be explained by natural causes. But according to Paulides' research, A missing 411 case is separated from a standard wilderness accident by a combination of strange details. First, the speed of the disappearance. Victims often vanish in an incredibly short amount of time, sometimes right near family or friends. They're there 1 minute, gone the next. Then, there's the search. In many cases, huge, organized searches are launched with hundreds of people, trained dogs, and helicopters. But the search dogs, usually our best tool for finding people, often can't pick up a scent at all. Mainstream search and rescue experts point out this can be caused by environmental factors like rain or wind, but in these cases, it's as if the person's trail just stops cold. The location is another supposed pattern. Many cases happen near granite boulder fields or bodies of water. And when victims are found, they're sometimes discovered in places that had already been searched multiple times, or in terrain that seems impossible for them to have reached. Think of a toddler found miles away, high up a mountain, without a scratch on them. And maybe the most chilling part, in many cases, nothing is ever found. No body, no clothes, no evidence of an animal attack or foul play. Just an absence. Skeptics make a good point. The wilderness is chaotic, and you can find patterns in anything if you look hard enough. But for the families of the missing, and for the searchers who've walked these woods calling out names into the silence, that explanation often feels hollow. To really get the weight of this, you have to look at the cases themselves. And there's no better place to start than with the case that has become the terrifying poster child for every missing 411 disappearance in the Smokies. Section 3, Case Study 1, The Disappearance of Dennis Martin. June 14, 1969. It was Father's Day weekend in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The Martin family was on their annual camping trip. They hiked to a meadow called Spence Field, a popular spot with incredible views. The afternoon was perfect. The adults were relaxing while the kids, including 6-year-old Dennis, started a game of hide-and-seek. Their plan was to sneak up and surprise the grown-ups. William Martin watched his son Dennis, wearing a bright red shirt, duck behind a bush. The other kids jumped out, laughing. But Dennis didn't. 5 minutes went by, then 10. William's casual glance turned to concern and then to a frantic search. He ran up and down the trail, shouting his son's name into the vast emptiness. No answer. Realizing something was terribly wrong, Dennis's grandfather started a 9-mile trek down the mountain to get help. As night fell, the sky opened up. A massive thunderstorm dumped 3 inches of rain, washing away any footprint, any scent, any trace of the little boy. What came next was the largest search in the park's history. Over 1,400 people, including National Guardsmen and even highly trained Green Berets, scoured 56 square miles of wilderness for weeks. They found nothing. Not one thread from his red shirt. Not one of his shoes. No sign of a struggle. No hint of an animal attack. Dennis Martin had vanished off the face of the earth. But the story gets even stranger. That same afternoon, about 5 miles away, the Key family heard an enormous, sickening scream. A moment later, they saw a rough-looking man running through the woods, apparently carrying something on his shoulder. The FBI looked into it, but decided a 6-year-old boy couldn't have been carried that far that fast. Years later, a ginseng hunter claimed he found the skeleton of a small child in a remote area, about 3 miles from where Dennis was last seen. He was afraid of being prosecuted for illegal harvesting, so he didn't report it. When he finally led authorities to the spot in 1985, they searched again. And again, they found nothing. Theories about Dennis Martin's fate range from the tragically simple to the deeply bizarre. Park officials think he likely wandered off, got lost, and died of exposure that first rainy night. Others suspect a bear attack, But the complete lack of evidence is a problem for that theory. Dennis's father believed his son was kidnapped and held that belief until the day he died. And then there are the whispers of darker things, of feral people rumored to hide deep in the park's hollows. More than 50 years later, the disappearance of Dennis Martin is still one of the most chilling mysteries of the Great Smoky Mountains. It's a terrifying example of the missing 411 profile, a sudden disappearance, a massive but useless search, and nothing left behind but questions that echo through the mountains. Section 4. Case Study 2. The Lost Hiker, Geraldine Inchworm Largay. Not every Appalachian disappearance has that same level of high strangeness. Some are just heartbreaking tragedies that remind us how unforgiving the wilderness can be. The story of Geraldine Largay, known on the trail as Inchworm, is one of those. While her case was eventually solved, it's a powerful lesson in how easily someone can get lost, even when help feels so close. In 2013, 66-year-old Geraldine Largay, a retired Air Force nurse, was living her dream, hiking the Appalachian Trail. She'd already conquered over 1,000 miles. Her husband, George, was her support crew, meeting her at road crossings with supplies. On July 22nd, Jerry was hiking a tough, remote section of the trail in Maine. She was supposed to meet George the next day. At some point that morning, she stepped off the path to use the bathroom, and she couldn't find her way back. When Jerry didn't show up, George reported her missing, kicking off one of the biggest search operations in Maine's history. For weeks, hundreds of people and dog teams searched the dense woods. They found nothing. For 2 years, there was only silence. Then, in October 2015, a surveyor found a collapsed tent deep in the woods. Inside were human remains. It was Geraldine Largay. Her camp was less than a mile from the trail she had stepped off of 2 years before. The most heartbreaking part was the journal they found. Its pages told a story of survival and, finally, resignation. Jerry had stayed alive for at least 26 days. She did what you're supposed to do. She set up camp to stay in one place. She repeatedly tried texting her husband for help. In some trouble, now lost. Can you call AMC? Call police for what to do, please. But there was no cell service. The messages never went out. Search parties had passed agonizingly close to her several times. But the thick trees hid her tent from the air, and the rough terrain confused the ground teams. Her final journal entry was a farewell. When you find my body, please call my husband George and my daughter Carrie. It will be the greatest kindness for them to know that I am dead and where you found me, no matter how many years from now. Jerry Largay's story is a profound tragedy. It shows how quickly you can get turned around out there, and how close help can be, yet still be impossibly far away. Her case gives us a rational baseline for these disappearances, but it's also a stark contrast. Jerry left a campsite, a journal, and her remains. In the most baffling Appalachian mysteries, the victims leave nothing at all. Section 5. Case Study 3. The Strange Vanishing of Trini Gibson. 7 years after Dennis Martin disappeared, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was the scene of another mystery with many of the same baffling features. This is the case of 16-year-old Trini Gibson. On October 8, 1976, Trini was on a school field trip with about 40 classmates. They were hiking a popular, well-marked trail near Clingman's Dome, the highest point in the park. The students were spread out along the trail in small groups. Multiple classmates saw Trini during the hike. At one point, she seemed to pick up her pace, moving ahead of her friends. The group behind her saw her go around a curve in the path. And then, she was just gone. When everyone got back to the school bus, Trini wasn't there. At first, no one panicked. They figured she'd hitched a ride with someone else. But as time went on, Concern turned to alarm. A search began. Once again, the park was flooded with searchers. They combed the area for weeks. The trail was busy. Dozens of people were nearby when she vanished. The time window for her disappearance was incredibly small. And yet, despite another massive effort, they found absolutely nothing. She was wearing a blue blouse, a sweater, and a heavy plaid jacket. Blue jeans, Adidas shoes. She even had on a distinctive ring. None of it was ever found. Her purse and money were all left at home. How does a teenager, surrounded by classmates on a popular trail in broad daylight, just cease to exist? If she got lost, you'd expect to find something. A piece of clothing, a footprint. But again, the search dogs couldn't lock onto a scent trail that led anywhere. One theory is abduction. Some believe an attacker could have pulled her off the trail and into a car on a nearby road. There's some thin, speculative evidence for this. Search dogs reportedly followed a scent to the edge of a road before it went dead. But that would require an abductor with incredible stealth and luck, grabbing a teenager from a busy trail without anyone seeing or hearing a thing. Another theory is that she ran away. But that seems unlikely. She left all her money, over $1,000 in her bank account, which was never touched. By all accounts, she had no reason to abandon her life. Just like the Dennis Martin case, Trini Gibson's disappearance defies any easy answer. She vanished from a group, in a familiar place, leaving behind a mystery that's now lasted for nearly 5 decades. Her case is a chilling echo of the same pattern seen over and over in these mountains. We're looking at some of the most unsettling cases from the Appalachian Mountains. These stories are more than just mysteries. They're a creepy reminder of how thin the line is between the world we know and something else entirely. If you're finding this investigation as compelling as I do, and you want to keep exploring the world's great unsolved mysteries, take a second to subscribe. There are a lot more secrets out there to uncover. Section 6. Exploring the theories, from the rational to the unthinkable. So what is going on here? Why do the Appalachian Mountains seem to be a nexus for these baffling disappearances? The proposed answers range from the logical and mundane to the absolute outer limits of belief. Subsection A. The logical explanations. The simplest explanation is just misadventure. As we saw with Geraldine Largay, the Appalachian wilderness is no joke. It's incredibly easy to get turned around in dense fog or thick woods. A simple fall can leave you with a broken leg. A sudden storm can lead to hypothermia in a shockingly short time. And the forest is so vast, a body could lie there for years or forever before being found. Animal attacks are another possibility. The Appalachians have a healthy black bear population. While they usually avoid humans, a mother bear protecting her cubs or a desperate, hungry bear could absolutely be fatal. But wildlife experts are often skeptical, especially in cases like Dennis Martin's. Animal attacks are messy. They leave evidence, torn clothes, blood, drag marks. In many of the weirdest missing 411 cases, that evidence just isn't there. Then there's the human element. Foul play. It's entirely possible that a serial predator could use the huge, remote wilderness as a hunting ground. Dennis Martin's own father was convinced his son was abducted, and it's a real possibility in the Trini Gibson case. But this theory has its own issues. It would take an almost superhuman level of stealth to grab someone from a group or a busy area without a single witness. And in most cases, there's no ransom note, no confession, and no suspect ever found. While these rational explanations account for many disappearances, they just don't explain away the bizarre details in the most perplexing cases. Subsection B. The whispers of the woods, folklore, and cryptids. When logic hits a dead end, we tend to look elsewhere. The Appalachian Mountains are soaked in folklore, a rich tapestry of stories born from the fears of people who have lived in their shadow for centuries. For some, the answers aren't in police reports, they're in these old tales. The region is a whole zoo of cryptids, mythical creatures not recognized by science. The most famous is Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Sightings of a large, hairy, ape-like creature aren't rare in Appalachia. Some have even tried to link the bear-like figure seen running near where Dennis Martin disappeared to a Bigfoot. Then there's the Mothman, a terrifying winged creature with glowing red eyes, first reported in West Virginia in the 1960s. And the legends get weirder. Cherokee lore talks about raven mockers, witches who can steal life force. There are tales of the Wampus Cat, a half-woman, half-cougar spirit, and even something called the not deer, a creature that looks like a deer but moves in a deeply unsettling, unnatural way. Are these creatures real? Or are they just metaphors for the very real dangers of the mountains? For some investigators, the consistency of these stories and the inexplicable nature of the disappearances are too much to be a coincidence. They believe something else is out there in the woods with them. Subsection C, the high strangeness factor. Beyond folklore, we get into what researchers call high strangeness. These are the theories on the absolute fringe, born from the total failure of normal explanations. One idea that won't go away is that of interdimensional portals or time slips. The theory goes that certain places, maybe with unique geology like the granite boulder fields, could be weak spots in the fabric of reality. People aren't being taken, they're accidentally stepping through a doorway into another place or time. It's science fiction, but it would explain the sudden vanishing and the total lack of a physical trace. Then there's the UFO connection. The idea that aliens are abducting people from remote areas is a theory that always comes up. The sudden disappearances, the lack of evidence, these are all classic elements of abduction stories. Finally, there's the theory of a government cover-up. Some researchers, including David Paulides, have noted how hard it is to get complete missing persons records from the National Park Service. It's true that the NPS doesn't keep a single, centralized public database of all missing persons cases. This has led to speculation that federal agencies might be hiding the true scale of the problem. Why? Maybe to prevent panic and protect tourism. Or maybe it's something more sinister. Are they hiding secret military projects, or even knowledge of the very creatures and phenomena we've been talking about? These theories are, by nature, unprovable. They exist in the vacuum left by a lack of evidence. But the fact that so many people are willing to consider them shows just how deeply baffling these cases are. When all the logical answers fail, maybe no explanation is truly off the table. Section 7. The human element. Voices from the search. At the heart of every one of these cases are the searchers. The park rangers, first responders, and thousands of volunteers who drop everything to plunge into the wilderness, hoping to bring someone home. Their experiences offer a crucial, grounding perspective. Dwight McCarter, a retired ranger who was on the search for Dennis Martin, has described the sheer difficulty of that operation. The number of well-meaning searchers was so huge it became chaotic, possibly destroying clues. The terrain itself is the enemy. Searchers navigate steep ravines and dense brush, trying to maintain a grid pattern in a forest that seems designed to get you lost. The psychological toll is enormous. Imagine spending weeks combing the same patch of woods, your voice raw from calling a name that is never answered. The search for Geraldine Largay had teams pass within 100 yards of her campsite without ever seeing it. The frustration and feeling of failure after learning that is immense. For these search and rescue pros, the missing 411 type cases are especially haunting. They are trained to find people. They know how lost people behave. When a case completely breaks all the rules, when the dogs find nothing, there are no tracks and no reason for the person to have vanished from that spot. It leaves a scar. It's a professional failure that feels deeply personal. These are the people who have stood at the edge of the mystery and come back with no answers. We've journeyed deep into the Appalachian Mountains, exploring a phenomenon that's as unsettling as it is mysterious. We've seen the heartbreaking, but understandable, tragedy of a hiker like Geraldine Largay, which grounds us in the real dangers of the wilderness. And we've confronted the baffling disappearances of Dennis Martin and Trini Gibson, cases that defy easy answers and push us toward the edge of what we think is possible. The Appalachian Mountains are an ancient, powerful place. For most, they're a source of beauty and peace. But for a few, they've become a final, silent resting place, their secrets guarded by a wall of mystery. The logical explanations, getting lost, animal attacks, even foul play, can and do explain many disappearances. But they can't explain all of them. They don't explain the suddenness, the failed scent trails, the impossible locations, and the profound lack of evidence in the most baffling cases. This is the core of the missing 411 theory. It's a collection of data points that refuse to paint a clear picture. It leads us down rabbit holes of folklore, cryptids, and conspiracies. In the end, we're left with a question. There is no single answer to why people keep disappearing in the Appalachian Mountains. There are only theories, stories, and the chilling silence left behind. The mountains hold their secrets close. Sometimes, they don't give them up at all. The only thing we know for sure is that people walk into these woods, and some of them never walk out. What do you think is happening out there? Is it a string of tragic accidents? Or is something stranger at play? Share your own theories in the comments. Every perspective helps shed a little more light on these dark mysteries. If you found this investigation compelling, please like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the unexplained. Your support lets us keep asking the questions that don't have easy answers. Stay curious and stay safe.